Are you ready? So, thank you. First of all, thank you, David, for inviting me, and thank you for coming in. I know it's sunny out, and I don't know how often you guys get sun here in Malmo, but it's a testament to your ability to want to learn. And I understood like a few sentences from the last one, Ready Player One. I don't know what the question was, but I think our reality is not that far from the book, because if you think about VR and how we are super attached to these. Think about VR, and if your situation isn't so nice, then VR is a lot better world than reality sometimes. So I think that, and when VR becomes social, interesting. And I think just to add on to that thing, I think the future of storytelling is definitely devices like this, where you can just shoot video pretty high res. I've tried a little vlogging thing. It's devices like this, 360 cam, super easy, super cheap. And of course, devices like this, the mobile phone. So what I'm saying is, it's not about technology, it's about us as people. And when things become accessible, then that's going to push storytelling. So that being said, I have this big thing in my pocket. Hold on, it's the microphone. So I speak, it's not that thing. No, sorry, guys. That could be construed as wrong conference, wrong person. So that being said, unfortunately I don't speak. I speak 4 words of Swedish. It's hej då, tillbaka and snikt. Tillbaka and snikt from web stuff. So, but my wife is half Swedish, and so we come up here quite often to Stockholm. So let's get on with the show. Raise your hand if you know who this is. I guess most of you. Keep your hand up for me if you know who this guy is. I'm going to show you the next slide. Raise your hand if you know who this is. Keep it raised. I think, oh, wow, like 4 of you guys. I guess some of you know who this is. It kind of gives me a good impression of how far you are in the world of storytelling and content. And we have some work to do. So this is Chiara, and she's Italian, and she's like one of the most popular Snapchatters on the planet. And she was the first vlogger to have, or video blogger, to have a Vogue cover. And she's hugely influential. And I think that's the difference between Karl Lagerfeld and there's some people within fashion think the whole Snapchatters and Instagrammers are killing fashion. But in reality, it's just an extension of what's happening. That's what I'm speaking about today. I've been at Google for 4 years. It'll be 4 years in December. I most recently decided to leave Google because I feel like my background is design and I want to get back into design, and it's never been a better time to do things than it is today, and maybe tomorrow even. So that's why I left. This is my mission statement, and hopefully, wherever you work, or whatever you do, you should have a mission statement, a purpose, also an individual mission statement. Mine is this: I inspire and collaborate with ambitious organizations, and so weiter. So it goes further. And I think that's super important because not all organizations are ambitious. That means they're only going to protect the past because that's what they know. And I think if you want to work with companies that are going to be relevant tomorrow, then they have to be ambitious. And that's really important. And more importantly, the people within those companies have to be ambitious. So this storytelling, I think it's always going to be relevant. It's how we understand our world through stories. And the only thing that's changed is the technology, how we access those stories. So over the past, 10 years or so, I've come to realize there's 2 things that are happening, and 2 trends basically. There's one, it's become super easy to bring an idea to life, to actually have an idea and make it real, super easy. And number 2, bring that idea or that product to scale. It's super easy to create things and have them become wildly adopted. Maybe not successful, but adopted. So I want to show you a few examples. 3 exactly. First thing is the strange. And we all like strange. I don't know. Have you guys seen any cats this year in the conference? Because cats belong at internet conferences. Interesting thing with this strange cat, grumpy cat, right? Actually, real name is Tartar Sauce. And Tartar Sauce is owned by a lady. She used to be a waitress in the southwest of the U.S. And she had this strange cat. She took a photo, posted it to some friends, shared it with some friends, and it was cool. Then her brother took a video of it, this video, and posted it on a website called Reddit. If you don't know what Reddit is, you should Google it because it'll help you understand what's happening. And then it got wildly successful. So what happened is, this is what happened. So if we think about attention, and that's what marketing really is about, and that's what actually everything is about today. It's about our undivided attention. So this is a comparison. So earnings in over the last couple of years. So if we think about Gwyneth Paltrow, she has estimated to make about 30 million in that time frame, and then you compare that with Grumpy Cat. It's over 3 times as much. And the difference is, if you think about it, she's like above the line advertising or marketing, and this is like everything. Grumpy Cat's like the Hello Kitty of the internet. They license everything for Grumpy Cat. So if you have a strange cat, post it. The other thing, I guess most people have seen this, also this phenomenon, this video.
Stay patient, people. Stay patient. This is going to be worth it, I promise. Maybe not, but it's worth it to me. And I had to share with my friends on the internet webs. So here's what... I'm having trouble getting it. Okay, patient. All right, we're doing good. Okay, so this is what I got. Once again, this is for me. Not for Duncan, not for Cadence. I mean, I'll let them play with it. I'm not a bad mom. I'm not a jerk. But in all honesty, at the end of the day, it doesn't go in their toy box. It goes in my room. So here we go. I got to take off my glasses for it. Oh, naturally. Okay, here we go. So, yes! Now watch when my mouth actually moves. That's not me making that noise, it's the mask! Here, listen. Worth every penny!
Okay. It goes further, but I edited it there because it's long. So she said, she posted that on Facebook Live. And that's what I mean by this idea of accessible. She just did this with her phone, and she uploaded it. It was streamed live. And before, we couldn't do that, but now we can do that, and that's amazing. And she posted it called The Simple Joys of Life, basically. So posted that on May 19th of this year. It actually cost, just the mask, but media-wise, it cost nothing for the most part. And then it got, by end of day, 150 million views, which is incredible. And she actually is known as Chewbacca Mom on Wikipedia now. And she's had first Kohl's at the department store, brought her a bunch of stuff, and then she got a full scholarship for her kids to Southwest University. She had this karaoke thing, with James Corden. She got invited. She met Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. And then Hasbro, the company that makes the Star Wars stuff, they actually created a figure with her face and stuff. So estimated, this is not media spend. This is just the value of stuff she's got because she put herself out there, over 420. And that's pretty amazing, I think. So the last thing I want to share with you is the Brave. And this is a little bit older, but it's also quite relevant today.
Hi. I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are dollarshaveclub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you, see you, see you.
So I don't know how it is in Sweden, but I know if you go and buy a set of razors at the supermarket, you can't even buy them at the supermarket because you go to the aisle, the shelf, and then they have the little, the little cardboard signs, here's your razor. And then you have to go to the counter and buy them because they cost like $30 per package. And that's what he was trying to disrupt, basically. So it was founded in 2011 by the founder for pretty much zero amount of money, for bootstrapped. They raised money later on. And then just this year, Unilever bought them for a nice sum of $1 billion. And I think those three examples pretty much explain what I was trying to say, basically. It's so easy to bring an idea to life, but also to scale it. And most companies are not able to do that because they live in the past. And they don't question the status quo. And what we call that, or what economists call this, is a frictionless market. What that means is, a frictionless market means basically is, you as buyers are being more informed by consumers that are excited about stuff than the advertiser or the marketers themselves. So if you can figure out who's really excited about what you're doing, like the mask, Chewbacca mask, that was Hasbro or Kohl's, then you can actually have the marketing done for you. But you have to be engaged with other people. And I think a lot of companies are really scared to engage with their users, with their consumers. So what's the cause of all this? I mean, there's a number of things, but the biggest thing is this, basically. You guys remember the bodyguard? Okay. So what I'm saying here is basically is this. Today it's not the technology, and I think there were some tech questions on the previous panel. And technology is cool and stuff, but it's not the hard thing. I think the hard thing today is actually the people like you, or people like your bosses, or the people that work for you, whatever. And it's the people in those organizations that have to start questioning things, questioning why we're doing things. And that's one thing that Google has done really well, is they always question the status quo. They always question, why are we doing this? Can we do it better? Can we do it not just 10 times better or 10% better, but 10 times better? And they call it 10x thinking. And I would argue that most people in companies do not question why they do things. They just do them because they've been told to do them, and they're okay with that. And if you are questioning, then you usually get in trouble with your boss, like, hey, don't rock the boat, don't shake the tree. This thing works, and it's not going to go away. And I think that's also another reason you see in Germany, the automobile market right now is really being pushed forward by Tesla and by Google with the autonomous cars, Tesla with electric, because they actually question why are we doing things the way we're doing them. And if you think about the German industry, the auto industry, they're all really, really involved and really focused, and they have all their stakes in fossil fuel cars. So why ruin the model when potentially there's nothing coming? But something always comes. So I'm going to talk about three things really quick now, because that was kind of my intro, but it was kind of a long-winded intro. People, places, and then leadership. So the first thing is the people. And sometimes we forget this, but we are, as animals, because we're a higher form of animals, we're social by nature. That means we like to hang out with other people like us. And that's why you see people that, when you hang out with your friends, they're typically similar to what you are. But it's also important. That's why you also need diversity. But when it comes down to marketing, this is really important. I think the future of marketing is really about community. And what that means is we have to move away from this old paradigm, this old way of thinking of demographics, and think more like the internet allows us to be. And what that means is we have to think about who do we have shared interests with. It's not about demographics. It's not like 30 to 45 women, or women, wife with 2 kids or whatever. It's more about shared interests, and that's the important thing. So just some quick definitions. Marketing, you really don't have to read these because they're kind of long. Communication, everyone knows that. But what the important thing is really, in my opinion, is the community, because that's who are really interested in what you're doing, your product or service. It's really about the community, and there's always going to be some community. The question is, how do you, if you're trying to sell something or promote something or do something, how do you get attached to this community? You have to be involved. So a little academia. Marketing pre-internet, if you think about it, it used to be like this. You had a big company like Chanel, for example, and they were the only people or only institution that could do mass media, so push out messages in a mass scale. And it was the yellow lines that were important. So you had stuff that looked like this. You know, you had ads from Chanel, like that's relevant, and that's the old one. And they offer you some promise, like for Coca-Cola, it was joy. Chanel, it was like every woman alive wants Chanel number 5. And that's how it was. Post-internet, it's a little bit different since we can all communicate with each other. What's important here is not the yellow lines, it's the blue lines. And those are the blue lines. Those are the lines that actually connect you with your friends, your family, and your acquaintances. And you always take priority when it comes to the blue lines. The commercial messages are like bottom of the, you know, if you're interested in buying something, then it's relevant. But usually it's first friends and family, and then the commercial stuff. So that means marketing has changed, and what I think it is, it's really about platforms for action. So YouTube, obviously, a little biased since I'm Google, but it could be Instagram, it could be whatever it might be, Snapchat, whatever. There's platforms, all sorts of platforms. So marketing in general has evolved. So if we've moved from this idea promising whatever it might be, so mass media, campaign desirability, emotional benefits, brand loyalty. Marketing is campaign, that's the past. And unfortunately, a lot of us still work like that. It's everything's about the campaign. To this idea of transmedia, that means you use different medias, but you don't do the same thing on each platform. You do it based on the strength of the platform. How useful is something, sense of taking part, that's really important. And then the idea of network effects. And what that means is the more people that are on this platform or this thing, the more powerful it becomes. So marketing is platform. And that's what I said earlier. We have to move beyond demographics. So if you think about it, if you're a company like Chanel and you want to make a media buy, and you buy in these 5 magazines, arguably you're going to have a lot of views or whatever it might be. But if you're more engaged with the stuff that's happening today, you're going to have, like, say, Instagram, they have 2.4 million followers. And I would argue that the engagement is a lot higher with this. Then that's over 2 times more than the magazines. And you're going to still do this. It's still relevant for some buyers, but I think the engagement is here. So what I'm saying is you have to be a little bit smarter in the way of doing things. You have to question why you're doing things. You might have heard this: content may be king, distribution may be queen. I think relationships are the way forward. I think the relationships are the premier #1 thing in marketing and for business in general. Just a little side story. I was just in Croatia like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I met this guy. He's from Gothenburg. His name is Magnus. You might have known him, or I don't know. He's like a serial entrepreneur, I guess. And most recently, we were in this car, and we were talking. And he's a CEO of Naked Fashion. That's a Swedish brand. And we were talking, and he was telling me the story. He had a conversation with his creative partner, the other co-founder, actually the founder, and his name is Jarno. And he was talking to him, and Jarno said to him, because he was new, and Jarno was the older guy, he said, "We don't want to spend any money with traditional media." And when he said that to me, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Magazines, print, and TV and stuff, because it's fashion, they want to do something else. And then Magnus asked Jarno, "So what do you mean by traditional media?" And then Jarno said, "With Google." Which totally makes sense, because if you think about fashion and the audience they're thinking of, it's really about influencer marketing. It's about Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff. And Google has been really about AdWords and all that other stuff. So for me, this made sense, but for me, it was like an eye-opener as well. Even Google, depending on your audience, has become kind of traditional. So the question for me, and for you more importantly, is this. When you think about the community, why should they engage with what you do? And that's sometimes that's the hard thing. You have to create something or do something to make them want to hang out with you guys, to engage with the company. So the second thing is places. Now I'm going to go a little bit faster. And places are really, it's not just a physical location. It can also be a virtual or digital location. So if you think about the physical location is here, but the digital could be like on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever it might be. And that's where relationships happen, right? So I think the future of marketing is really about platforms. And think about a few platforms. Everything is getting faster and faster because we're becoming more advanced in what we do. So how long does it take to reach 50 million users? Radio took 40 years. Television, 10 years. You've probably seen this chart before. iPhone, 3 years. YouTube took 6 months. And if you think of Pokemon Go, I don't know if that's a phenomenon here. At one point, Pokemon Go had 6% of the population in the US playing, and it took like 2 months with 300 million users or something. It's becoming quicker and quicker. Mexican wrestlers, just because. Platforms, this is the definition for platforms. And I think you'll see a lot of companies, it doesn't matter if you're marketing or whatever, every business that's going to be successful and relevant in the future has some form of platform built into the business. So just a few examples. Google is a platform. We have all these little nodes, Gmail, apps, whatever it might be, Android. Nike, 2006, they came out with their platform called Nike Plus. Before it was about the relationship you had was, maybe through marketing, but now you stay within the relationship because they offer you something that you didn't have before. Nike Running, whatever it might be. And then Alibaba, a Chinese company. But there's all sorts of other different platforms. You can Amazon has a platform, WeChat, there's tons of platforms out there. This is my Google slide. This is what most Googlers show, these kind of slides. And just this is from Accenture, but platforms are really the future of business as well. And to make that happen, you have to think about how do you collaborate with other people. And I would argue that a lot of companies are set up like this, the silo system. Oh yeah, we're only sales, we aren't marketing. Oh yeah, that's digital marketing. You got to talk to these guys. Makes it pretty hard to do things. This setup works a little better, but you always have a bottleneck. So all the decisions go up to the top, and then you have to wait till whoever makes the decision make it. Best case scenario, you have something like this. Everybody has a little bit of autonomy and can make decisions, and the communication is a lot quicker. That being said, the flatter the hierarchy, the more agile the team. This is some buzzwordy type things, but agile is really important. The question there is, what will keep the relationships meaningful? So when you think about it, why do you have a relationship with your user or your consumer or your audience? So the last thing is leadership. Getting closer, I think I have my 2-minute warning. Leadership today, for me, it's really about questioning. I think leaders of the past, they always thought they knew everything. But I think really good leaders know they don't know everything. And they know that there's questions that need to be answered. So they hire great people that actually supplement what they do. But leaders, you've probably heard of leaders, they just know everything and they just do things. I think that's kind of going away. So today, it's really about questioning. And it's really about learning. So really great companies, if you think like Pixar, Google, of course, Apple, and all these, maybe some older companies too, they have learning built into the culture. That means you can learn something new every single day. And that's super important when the world is changing so quickly that you have this ability to learn. So this is from the World Economic Forum, this chart here. And really it's about complex problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity. And creativity for me, it's kind of my specialty, is connecting different things together. So connecting a bunch of different things. So the more stuff you experience personally, the more things you can put together. And that's important why you move out of what you're comfortable with. So companies that were designed for success in the 20th century were a little bit different than today. Built on this idea of scarcity. So they had a scarce resource, whether it be gas or metal or whatever it might be, and they really used it to their advantage. And then all these other attributes, efficiency, predictability, spray and pray, that's a marketing term. You spray out your message and you pray that people actually see it. Spray and pray, we call that. And a few things that I find interesting, just some trends, are PreCommerce. So this is a company called Warby Parker in the US. They sell glasses. So what you can do is they send you a box of 4 different glasses. you try them on, and then you send the ones you don't like back. So they have an idea of what you like. So you don't have to go to the store; it comes to you. The other thing is this idea of being consumer-centric or user-centered in software terms. Super important. I think people want an experience that's frictionless. So if you're used to buying stuff online, and you don't want to go to a store and have to wait at the cash register. I think that's why Apple is so successful. One of the reasons when you go to the retail stores, because it's so amazing. Here's a video.
I need an iPad.
Cool, thank you.
No, Kevin's gonna read you one. Thank you. Are we cool? Can I take this now?
Yeah, you can take it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Your help. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
So long. There is no better experience in all of retail than buying something at an Apple store. In and out in 2 seconds, got exactly what I needed. They were super helpful and very smart. What's up?
So he bought an iPad, and if you haven't shopped at an Apple store, then you're missing out. You should. That's like the second thing you should do after you leave this place. Just go check it out. Not buy anything, but just watch people. And the last thing is this idea of frictionless. I just talked about that. But the thing is, when we're so used to having kind of our way online, then we want that offline as well. And what's nice about companies like Uber and other companies, they really think about this. So what's amazing with Uber is you go and you get your car and stuff, you're driving, and then you just get out instead of having to deal with the cash thing and the whole, the whole experience. Do you need a receipt and all that stuff? You just get out and that's it. And I think that's really amazing. So you should really focus on how can you make this experience for your user? How can you make it as frictionless as possible? It's not that easy, but it's possible. So let's go back to this chart really quick. So I think there's a fundamental shift in how companies are set up and the ones that will be successful, the way they're designed. So if you look at these companies, Google, Tesla, and Netflix, they're built on this idea of abundance. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can work with, data, media, and Netflix term, Tesla, it's electricity or whatever it might be. Unexpected is focus on speed. That's super important. Speed is probably the hardest thing for big companies, is the idea of speed. Decision making is the hardest thing for big companies to do, and you have to do it quick today. So I believe companies designed in the 20th century will fail ultimately in the 21st century. Nokia's they've already failed. That was a pretty easy one. Volkswagen, arguably, I would argue if they're going to be around in 20 years. And then Warner Brothers, that's a media company, but we know how we consume media today. It's not the way that they want us to consume media. It's totally different. So that being said, the question for you is, how do you plan to lead in a world of constant change? And that's not easy, but it's all only about learning and adapting and having a bias towards action. So the 3 takeaways are, number 1, cultivate for community. Here's my bullet points for this part. This is Minecraft. What's interesting in Minecraft, Swedish company, they got bought for $2.5 billion. Microsoft could have built it. They have all the techies there, but they had a huge community. That's what Minecraft has, and they couldn't have bought a community, Microsoft. They bought the community, not the hardware, so to speak, the software. So cultivate for community, that's super important. And it really comes down to empathy. Have a really deep empathy for your users. That's more than just understanding. That's actually walking in their shoes, so to speak. Number 2, build your platform. Not easy to do, but you almost have to do it to succeed. So this is the funnel. You guys know how the funnel works, right? And Google sits up here at the top with all these other guys for the most part. And this is Google's business model. It's all about AdWords. But as we move to mobile and stuff, Google's going to have issues too. We still have enough cash, but it's going to be a while. But what's interesting is, if you have Amazon Prime, you skip the whole Google experience. You go straight to Amazon, click the Prime button, and then you search there. You skip the whole Google thing, and that's amazing. So if you're a company, you have to figure out how do you go lower down the funnel and have an amazing experience. And the last thing is leadership. This is a pretty easy one. And I said that before. Learning is leadership. In Europe, which is good. In Germany, it's even bigger than here probably. Our comfort zone is really big. It's really warm and fuzzy, and why should I leave? Because everything's cool. But actually, all the cool stuff is happening outside your comfort zone, and that's what you have to do. You have to move outside your comfort zone to understand where things are going. Question why and follow through with a bias towards action. That means not just questioning, but knowing that you want to achieve something, so you have a bias towards action afterwards. So this is a review for you guys, just so you guys know that I'm serious about this questioning thing. Second to last slide. Because I believe it's not the answers that are important today, it's the questions, because the questions keep moving us forward. Here's 3 questions for you as leaders. Number 1, are you setting goals far beyond the status quo? You know, it's not 10% better, it's 10 times better. Number 2, embracing non-traditional experts. That's super important. Every company I go to, BMW, Adidas, whatever, there's always some kind of McKinsey person in the background. And they don't always have the answers. You have to focus on the other people that are experts as well. And the last thing is, does your culture celebrate leaning into the future or protecting the past? And I know a lot of companies, like in publishing or music, it was really about protecting the past. In the music industry, they did it so much that they sued the people that wanted to listen to music. So here's your last slide. I grew up in Minnesota. I didn't tell you that. Minnesota is very much like Sweden and Scandinavia. We have a summer home in Minnesota, so we go there every year. It's like you guys, I guess most people have a lake home or summer home. And this is our summer home, but this is my last thought for you. If you leave today, and think about stuff, this is the last thing. If you live the questions, life will move you into the answers. And that's the most important thing for today. You're not always going to get the answers, but the questions, if you work there, then you'll get to the answers at some point. So this last video is because I'm kind of a geek as well. It's in Minnesota, and it's my dad, and he's my nephew, and I have 2 kids, and they're fishing. And I think that's what great technology does. It expands your perspective on life, and it puts your perspective a little bit further. And this is, before I would never been able to do this. You'd probably have the helicopter or whatever. But now with cheap drones and cameras and stuff, you can do amazing things. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions
That's
now.
cool.
But
Yeah.
please, ups to the audience, you have...
Oh, should I put it back up?
yeah, if you want to
Then you
ask
got it.
questions,
Oh,
you can
okay.
always ask on Twitter, I think.
Those are the questions. I don't know. I might answer with a question, but we'll see.
Så
Twitter.
om ni vill ställa frågor till Jeremy så ta hans Twitter-adress
Yeah,
där.
that's actually Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. That's where I am. So, cool. Thanks a lot. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.